Hi, everyone. My name is Lisa Hennessy, and hello from sunny California. I am the executive producer of the world's toughest race, Eco Challenge. And I am super excited to introduce the panel with us today. From beautiful Whistler, Canada, is Kevin Hodder, who's the race director. And also joining us is Corey Rich, photographer extraordinaire and storyteller extraordinaire, joining us from Lake Tahoe. We also have Travis Macy, who is on Team Endure, which we're going to show a little trailer soon, and you can hear more about his team and racing with his father. Also joining us are Tashi and Nungshi from Team India. What is the name of the team again? Okay,
Warriors.
Yes, and they're joining us from India, which is amazing. And they have an amazing story. They've climbed all 7 summits, correct, ladies? And what are your huge accomplishments?
Thank you, Lisa.
Yes, and they're racing for team empowerment as well, women's empowerment. We're going to show a short trailer first from Eco Challenge, and then we're going to ask some questions of the panel. Corey's going to show some incredible images from the race that just took place in September in Fiji. And then we have a special treat. We're going to show the first couple minutes of the show, and then we're going to open it up to all of you to ask questions of the panel. So Guy, please play the trailer, and then we'll take it from there.
66 teams from 30 different countries have descended on Fiji.
I have no clue what to be afraid of. I'm about to find out.
To compete in the world's toughest race.
The horse is relentless, so every step is a victory.
We came here to show the world who we are.
To make sure that those people who feel underrepresented feel that they have a voice.
I am a tough chick, and I'm proud of that.
I was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. To do this race with my dad is a priceless experience.
We wanted to prove that the girls in India are strong and they can achieve anything.
This is not a normal adventure race. 671 kilometers, mountains.
I don't mind climbing, I mind dying.
Jungles.
I need help!
Rivers. Ocean.
4 hours of sleep in 4 days.
And it is brutal.
It was so hard.
It's the first adventure race that I have the feeling of arriving to a limit.
We can handle anything that comes, because we're in it together.
This is the closest we ever get to being superheroes.
But that's still going. It's a real testament to grit.
How long has he been like this? His conscious level is impaired.
That was awesome.
Yeah, oh my gosh. And sorry about this. The technology is a little bit tough for me here. So let me start with you, Travis. Team Endure, you raced with your father, Mark Macy, who just recently got diagnosed with Alzheimer's. Can you tell us a little bit about racing with your dad and what the experience was like?
Yeah, you know, I've been wanting to do Eco Challenge since 1995. My dad did 8 of those early races, and I remember as a kid watching this on TV and hearing stories from my dad and Marshall Ulrich and Mike Closer and these other friends and mentors, and just wanting this race to happen again. And I remember part of the excitement was going to the OR show every year with Dad and going out to Salt Lake and, you know, hitting up sponsors, and Dad was, you know, looking for people to support his teams, and I was getting the swag, and there was just a lot of energy behind it. So when it came back, and we eventually had the opportunity to do it together, it really was just something we've been looking forward to for a long time. Something that in this case, you know, we've had a lot of racing experience on our team, but there was a whole lot of uncertainty, and we didn't know how it was going to go with Alzheimer's out there. We knew we had a lot of variables to manage. We knew that we were getting into very tough conditions, and the Eco Challenge is known to be long and hard, and as Bear said, they're brutal, which it was, and it turned out to be an awesome experience. And really for me, in this Alzheimer's journey, it was kind of a cathartic rite of passage, really, for Dad and I, and just navigating what we're going through. And I'm so thankful that we got to do it, and a huge piece of it was the community. The folks who are on this call, the other teams, the producers, the Fijian people, really just made for a spectacular experience. And I'm psyched to watch it on TV. I've watched every Eco Challenge episode over the years many times, and I think this will probably be the best yet.
Yeah, and you guys really represented the spirit of Eco Challenge. We gave you at the closing ceremonies the Spirit of Eco Challenge Award, and we just couldn't be more honored that you and your dad and your team. I'll start tearing up, that you guys competed in this race, because your dad amplifies everything that makes Eco Challenge special. So thank you, Travis.
Thanks, Lisa. It meant a lot.
I'm literally tearing up. Okay, Tashi and Nungshi, you guys are, you guys are incredible. You're from Team Kakuri Warriors, representing India and female empowerment. You're the first set of twins and South Asians to compete at the Explorers Grand Slam, 7 summits, and you did the North and South Poles as well. I mean, it makes me tired even talking about all your accomplishments. And how old are you?
We are 29 this year. Yay.
Oh my gosh, you're babies. Babies.
Damn.
Absolutely incredible accomplishments already. Can you tell everyone what it was like to race in Eco Challenge? You guys were rookies coming to the starting line. And so can you tell us a little bit about your experience?
That's right. Honest admission. This was the one event in our life we were utterly unprepared for. We frankly could do very little training and preparation of it all. By little, I mean, for instance, having only done 5 days of sea training with the Indian Navy. We had zero experience of the water. Looking back, I think Eco Challenge Fiji was much more than just a race. For us, it was a transformative experience. It kind of like opened this window of, this multi-dimensional experience that went far beyond adventure. It was also a journey into a native people's life and how such a big adventure could be conducted without adversely impacting our environment and creating sort of like this win-win for all stakeholders. If it wasn't for Eco Challenge, I don't think we would have experienced Fiji the way we did. We saw firsthand how this event, connected and brought people together from all over the world and also connected the local communities. You'll not believe this, but beyond the race organizers' generous contribution to a number of projects in Fiji, on request by a local village, the participating teams, as well as some of these race enthusiastic, they raised over $13,000 to construct a much needed library for the school kids. I mean, it was so inspiring. The whole eco part of this challenge was very inspiring to us. It had to be an awesome event of the logistic and operational scale, and of course, experienced staff of Eco Challenge to make this experience possible. We are truly grateful for this experience.
I mean, and I do believe that, Eco Challenge preparation and participation equipped us with so many tools and skills and network of like-minded people and organization, who seek to make a better world through adventure sports. We took away from the experience that adventure community is all about one for all and all for one in our common mission of sports beyond the field of positive social action. I think for the two of us, climbing and extreme adventure in general is a means of catharsis. The higher the benchmarks of risk-taking and adversity and uncertainty tolerance we attain, the higher the level of self-belief and I can do attitude we sort of develop. And I think learning from the experiences, today's life's challenges and seemingly impossible situations do not intimidate us. We go right after them and sort them out. And I think, I think every team competing in Eco Challenge were extraordinary because we believe that ordinary people believe only in the possible extraordinary people visualize not what's possible or probable, but rather what's impossible. And by visualizing the impossible, we began to see the possible. So if there's one thing I took away from Eco Challenge is that impossible is probable. So never go underprepared.
So I have to ask you guys just a quick question that I'm guessing the audience is going to ask. So you guys did Everest, you did all the 7 summits. What is the hardest adventure that you've done?
I mean,
wow.
Clearly Eco Challenge, without fail, hands down.
I would also say because of the disciplines that were required for the race.
Yeah, it's a lot of
confident about. So
yeah, water.
Yeah, and I promise, audience, I did not prompt that. I did not. I promise. But it's also the sleep deprivation too. Doing the toughest things that you've ever done back to back to back, and without little or no sleep, and then the strength of the team. Really, you're only as strong as you're only as strong as your weakest member, and at any time, someone's going to have a hard day or a tough hour, which makes it tough because it's a team sport.
Exactly. And I think that's what we love about the Eco Race. This was the first time where we went into a competition where we were gender neutral. So it wasn't like you cannot do this, but it was more like you all have to do this together and survive through this, because if not, then you're going to get out. So I think that was a great sort of takeaway from Eco Challenge, and respecting that, adventure sports, like we say, mountaineering does not discriminate based on gender, and neither does adventure sports. So, really giving it all that we have to really support one another and bring out that sort of connection with the team.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure there's gonna be a lot more questions for you guys, because you guys are the athletes and the ones that make the extraordinary seem possible. Next up is Kevin Hodder. Kevin, I've known for 20 years, Kev. Kevin and I have worked on every Eco Challenge together, in British Columbia, Australia, Argentina, Borneo, New Zealand, then Fiji in 2002. And then we decided to take a little nap for 17 years and then bring Eco Challenge back last year in 2019. And Kevin is the one, he's the race director, and he's the one who puts together the race course. And I'm going to let Kevin tell you all a little bit about what it's like to put together an incredible course for these extraordinary athletes.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. Yeah, so one of the questions we get a lot is, what makes a good Eco Challenge race course? So what makes a good expedition race course? And the key word that I often reference is the word diversity, right? So diversity in the environment and the terrain. 1 minute or 1 hour they're paddling, and the next minute they're expected to mountain bike along a muddy road. Environments, different modes of transport, and it's the feedback that we get of what makes my principal customer base, since I'm the race director, is also what makes good television, right? So it's kind of this symbiotic relationship. So it's a win-win for the audience and a win-win for the athletes. What we do is we really start, it sounds glamorous, and once in a while it might be, but really it starts with a lot of hard research, looking at talking to the local experts, places that we could go. Where are the iconic locations in Fiji, for instance, places that we really want to hit? So of course we knew we wanted to hit the beautiful ocean over reefs, on both ends of the course. We know we wanted to go to the amazing waterfalls. We know we wanted to kick some butt on the muddy roads of having the teams mountain bike through them. And so we kind of knew these iconic places along the way that we wanted to hit. And then the key is trying to link those all together and make this one amazing linear journey from A to B, from start to finish. And so I'm looking at the maps and that kind of nerdy aspect. And then there's a lot of art as to how can we link them together, and how does it flow best, and how can we manage it? We'll get the athletes off their feet here after they bashed through the jungle for 80 kilometers, and they get a bit of a rest, they can rejuvenate, mountain bike into the camp, have their piecing it all together, and that's also part of the fun. And for me, I get to do the race too, although I get to sleep a little bit more. So part of my job is to test it all the way through and decide, is this reasonable? Where do we need safety people? How are we going to write the guidebook so that the teams can, is it going to be a great race and a good TV show? So it's all part of my job. And of course, thank you, Lisa. It is the greatest job in the world. World's toughest race, world's best job.
Awesome. And apologies, I think Kevin's got a little bit of a delay on his Wi-Fi, but Travis, how many times did you curse Kevin while you were on the course?
Yeah, you know, it's tough out there, and I think that that the ladies are right. You have your ups and downs, and you got to support each other as a team. I mean, I really enjoyed the course. I think that Kevin and the other organizers did a great job laying out all those elements, all of the diversity, all of, you know, some of these things are enjoyable to some extent, but we knew going in that each section would be long enough that by the end of it, you're basically sick of it. And whether that's paddling a billy or sailing a boat or trying to sail a boat, but there's no wind, so you're paddling it. All of these things really do make for a dynamic experience. And you know, honestly, I wasn't cursing anyone. I was enjoying being out there with three great friends and with my dad and just treasuring the experience. And that's, you know, different from a racing experience where you're going as hard as you can and not sleeping at all, you know, and really suffering it out, which I think the viewers will see from a lot of the teams. It really is a lot of suffering. And like you said, the sleep deprivation is a big piece of it.
Amazing. Okay, so next is Corey Rich, who is a legendary photographer and has also worked with Kevin way back in the day in Borneo, I think is when Corey first started working with us. He and his team are the ones who capture the still photography, which is absolutely extraordinary. So as the racers are climbing up ropes, they're hanging from the ropes with cameras and drones and all that kind of fun stuff. So Corey, why don't you tell everyone about how you assembled your team, how you captured the images, and then we're hoping with technology, we can figure out how to show you guys some of the stills that Corey took of the racers during World's Toughest Race Eco Challenge Fiji.
Sure. Thanks, Lisa. And it's fun to be on with all of you. I mean, just hearing everyone reflect on the race just brings back so many memories. I think, you know, I could speak for both the photography team, but also the video team. It's amazing to be witness to these athletes and the entire production unfolding in front of you. I mean, that was really one of the gifts as one of the documentarians of this event, is you get a front row seat to adventure and suffering and people pushing hard and figuring out where their limit is. But when you're photographing an event like the Eco Challenge, there's incredibly diverse terrain and the disciplines that the athletes need to overcome. Of course, as Kevin described, that's the engineering of the event. So we also needed to assemble a team of photographers that could be comfortable in those environments. And you know, I always say that you have to first be an expert at the genre. You need to be a great photographer, a storyteller. You need to be comfortable outdoors. You don't mind mosquitoes biting you in the neck. You need to be hanging off a rope or out on the water for 12 hours a day. And Lisa, you and I joked about it. I think we've joked about this for 17 years. And then you just got to be a good person that's easy to hang out with.
It's important.
Yeah. You know, and I think this is probably true for athletes as well as the production team. You just want like positive people around you. It's never a problem. It's how are we getting to guess? How are we going to be there and make pictures? It doesn't matter if it's raining, snowing, you're cold, you're wet, bit by mosquitoes, you never got picked up, you ran out of food, you ran out of water. And so it was really fun to put together a team of individuals that had all of those skill sets. Great photographers, but also love being out there. And so we built a team of, gosh, it might have been close to 9 or 10 of us: Win Ruji, Andy Mann, Idris Solomon, Tara Kirshner, Poby, Bly Gillies, Christian Pondella, and Crystal Wright. And then we had some folks behind the scenes downloading. You know, that was a big shuffle, was getting your memory cards from these super remote locations back into the HQ so that we could make sure everything's working and see the imagery and, manage the images from 9 photographers coming in. And so we really had specialists, and I occasionally would go back to HQ and I could see what was getting downloaded. Greg Kendall Ball and Brett Wilhelm were kind of managing the assets and editing. And it was such a treat to kind of slip in for 20 minutes and see the selects from one day. And Tyler from Amazon was there, Josh from our office. And it was, it would sort of, you'd just feel the kind of the commitment and all of the blood, sweat, and tears in the images on a daily basis. And now in the aftermath of the event, of course, it's incredibly satisfying to see edits of these pictures. And of course, the goal with the picture is hopefully it makes you feel something, right? A successful picture is a picture that actually creates emotion. And I hope we created a few pictures that actually move you, or for the athletes, maybe it brings back either great memories or memories of suffering. And I hope for the audience that hasn't watched the Eco Challenge, which is most of the world at this point, I hope it inspires you, excites you to tune in on Amazon when it goes live.
Yeah. And do you think that we can figure out the technology for you to show a few, or yeah, we're not really great at this webinar stuff is kind of new for us. So thanks for everyone for hanging with us. And then just Guy wanted me to remind you all, please start, if you want, I think it's in the Q&A, the chat room, just please start asking questions. We have a bunch lined up right now that I will go to after we show some of Corey's images, which are just extraordinary. His team is just, I can't say enough and amazing things about them. And then we're going to show, this is the first time ever, we're going to show the open of the series, the first 2 minutes of episode 1 of the 10 episode series, which will air on Amazon Prime, August 14th. We're really excited about that. And so we'll show that, and then we'll open it up to Q&A from the audience. And we've got a lot of people on today, so we're super thankful that you all are joining us and listening to our panel and our chat today about World's Toughest Race Eco Challenge.
Lisa, did that just go to full screen? Can you guys see these pictures?
It did not.
Oh no.
No.
You're not seeing that.
No.
Uh-oh. Let's see.
That's okay. You know what? Well, maybe we can we'll play around with the Corey, and then maybe at the end we'll be able to show some stuff.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah. I'm afraid. Let me try one last opportunity.
In worst case scenario, just so everyone knows, if you go to @ToughRaceTV on Instagram, please follow us. All of Corey's team's imagery is on Tough Race TV right now, and they've been they started adding to Instagram, I think about 2 weeks ago. So there's some really cool videos on there, as well as incredible imagery from Corey and his team.
Well, I don't know. I think that the live internet bug got our system that worked 20 minutes ago, but it's not working now. So
no worries, Corey. We're getting the wild technology on webinars from our home. It's so weird. We're all just like in our homes. We're used to being out. You're used to be out climbing on mountains around the world. So Guy, if you can you play the open of the show? We'll mute our mics and our video.
I'm Bear Grylls. Welcome to Fiji and this year's Eco Challenge Adventure Race, the world's toughest race. Below me in every direction is some of the toughest, most rugged, most dangerous terrain in all the world. Steep mountains, sheer cliffs, treacherous rivers, and miles of dense tropical jungle. Eco Challenge was a yearly event that spawned the worldwide adventure racing phenomenon. And now it has returned, bigger and more punishing than ever before. 66 teams from 30 different countries have descended on Fiji to compete in this iconic race. This unique sport allows all experience levels on the same course. From elite teams racing for the podium.
For us, it's to make sure that we win.
To courageous rookies.
We have to finish this, have to.
Whose goal is simply to complete this grueling expedition.
I have no clue what to be afraid of. I'm about to find out.
that was a little tease. And then the teams start actually on those Kamakaw rafts. Kev, do you want to? Your internet's a little bit shaky, but do you want to? Because the Kamakaws are really important to us as a race organization,
Yes.
and what we, because the country of Fiji is so incredibly important to us, and we work very closely with. We went through 120 different villages. And can you tell the audience about the Kamakaws, how the racers started?
66 teams started on an outrigger sailing vessel that is spelt Kamakaw, and a lot of the locals pronounce it Tamakaw. But it's modeled after the actual outrigger sailing boat that the Fijian people used to migrate, their original migration across the Fijian islands. And these type of boats had kind of vanished from the culture over the numerous decades. And so we worked with a really remarkable guy named Colin Philp, who was our ocean leg manager. And he designed this boat as a replica of these historical craft. And after the race, different communities across the Fijian islands, both in the name of each of the teams that use them and in the name of Eco Challenge. And they were meant to kind of reinvigorate the use of these traditional crafts, boat building, boat repair, boat design, and a mode of transportation or a method. And so he created this factory on the main island of Viti Levu, which created these boats. We actually commissioned the build of 72 of them. And so people from around Fiji came together and learned how to build them and supplied most of the materials from within Fiji through sustainable means, learned how to build them, learned how to with a mast and a sail. And so, like Lisa said, the race started on a river. So teams paddled 15 kilometers to the ocean. And at that point, they were allowed to raise their sail and begin sailing out into the Pacific Ocean. So it was a really dramatic moment, very special to Lisa implies. It's kind of a legacy that we were able to leave behind as this gift to our host nation, the amazing country of Fiji.
And with the giving of the Kamakaws, it was both a cultural exchange as well as environmental, because now the local villages will use that type of mode of transportation versus powered transportation. So it was a really special gift and a legacy that we're leaving behind. So if hopefully when we're able to travel again, and if you head over to Fiji, you'll be able to see some of those boats, or maybe even travel on some of those boats around the Fiji Islands. Okay, so I'm going to open it up to questions. It's a little bit hard for me to, they're coming in so fast. Rob Preston, hello from Australia. He has a question for Travis. What is more challenging, racing with teammates with physical impairments, such as your dad, or if you were racing to get a podium spot?
Oh man, Rob, great question, and big shout out to Rob and his teammates. Rob was another Eco Challenge Fiji competitor on an Australian team, and Rob happens to be one of the top navigators in the world. And for those who are unfamiliar with the sport, navigation is a huge piece of it. The course is not marked. You're using a map and compass to find your way from point to point. And it's a huge piece of the race. You know, at the pointy end of the field, the navigation is often what sets apart, you know, different teams on the podium. And then all throughout the field, as I'm sure you'll probably see on the show, you know, getting lost is just part of the sport, and if you can avoid doing that, you're going to go a lot faster and have a much better time. So anyway, Rob, to answer your question of what's harder, I mean, you know, those scenarios are really tough when you're going going for the win. As we touched on, you're just throttling your body and mind, and you're not sleeping much. You're cold. Your body is run down. And
Hey, Trav, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but you're
hard.
Travis.
And then on the other hand, we're racing with, again, Alzheimer's disease. That was highly dynamic, and we really had to always be thinking. We had to be strategic. We had to be managing every little variable. And now is tough too. I would say probably for me, pushing for the podium is a little bit harder just because there's more sleep deprivation. And we knew this year with our team going, so thankfully that kept me relatively. Am I breaking a lot?
Yeah, sorry, Trav. And now we've lost you, I think. Yeah. So you're cutting out, but yeah, it was kind of disjointed. So I think everyone got the
me now?
Yeah, it's really like slow motion, like you're in a it's kind of really distorted. So I'm gonna quickly head over to we'll hopefully he'll come back. One of the questions, Tashi and Nungshi, if you can answer, did you find that teams were more likely to work together or against each other? That's from Owen McCulk.
All right. So I'll speak for Team Kukri Warriors and what we felt during the race. To be honest, we had, going into Eco Challenge, firstly, we had no illusions about the miscommunications and competing opinions, leading to conflict, compounding the already high levels of stress, physical and mental. We had a fair share of our team bonding put to test. And there were times when the conflict would threaten to put us all out of the race. So for us, I feel, we all came with our own prejudices, our biases. In our case, we also had a team member from the USA, so there were quite a lot of intercultural differences, which is why Dad's role as a TAC, the team assist crew, in our case, the tension adding crew, as we'd like to say, was very crucial in the sense that he helped. He held these like brainstorming sessions with all of us, and pre-race he kind of sensitized us about a lot of issues that were likely to emerge when we were putting ourselves through so much. And in our case, the challenge was also that the four of us, all four of us, had never either been together or competed together before the race start. So you'll not believe this, but we came together, all of us, for the very first time just before the race start, which was quite a task, I must say. So yeah, it was a mix of both. I think having people on the race course, even though you have mentally prepared yourself to face these unexpected challenges, even emerging out of the team, we were quite nimble in that sense, picking up and changing and adapting. But there were moments when we were at the throat of each other, and we were on the verge of breaking down. And that's where our experience, even climbing these mountains, has helped a lot, because it has really made us very, very humble and spiritual, and in many ways has been very meditative. So those things really played out very well during the Eco Challenge, where we were kind of sobering down our tempers as well internally, and kind of keeping that away from our team as much as possible.
But I mean, we were all still smiling, despite all those hardships and all the things that we were going through during Eco Trace. I think the team, the spirit that we all had ended up in a laughter. So it kind of like narrowed down to the wonderful experience we had competing together. And, obviously it brought out a lot in us. So I guess working with the team obviously is the crux of the eco race, but also, really understanding what your competencies are for different skills and really taking lead on that. Because I felt like all 4 of us were leaders, but then, we had to sort of let others follow when they had to follow. So kind of like really balance that out.
Awesome. I have one more question for you guys. And then I just want to say hi. There's a bunch of athletes that have joined. I see Nora, who I think is joining us from New Zealand, Athena, Brazil. Jason Magnus is with us as well. That's Bend, Oregon, right, Kev?
Yeah, Team Bend, amazing Team Bend. Jason Magnus, also one of the greatest race directors out there, who does Expedition Oregon, a true advocate of the sport. And of course, like Travis said, we have Rob Preston, who was on Team Gips, athletes and one of the best teams. And just saw pop up Alex Provost, who was from Team, one of the preeminent athletes, raced a lot with Jason Magnus over the years. So I'm just scrolling. Hopefully I haven't left anyone else, but great to see everyone's names pop up.
I know, we miss you all. The last time we all saw each other, we were all in Fiji celebrating. There's one, I was just trying to scroll. It's a little bit hard to do this. John Hank had a question for, it says, for all of us who are fans of the original broadcast, what kind of differences can we expect in the new edition of Eco Challenge? Really, truly, we've stayed completely, it's completely loyal to what Eco Challenge has been and will continue to be. We consider ourselves the Olympics of adventure racing. And so the only thing that we really changed for Fiji 2019 is that we added back an assistant crew, which we did have in the original Eco Challenge. The original Eco Challenge in Utah, we had 5 racers with, I think it was 2 assistant crews. I think there was a team of 7, if I remember correctly. It was a long time ago. And then British Columbia with assistant crews as well. And we decided to bring back the assistant crew, which really adds to sort of the family dynamic, which I think is really important. For example, Nashi and Tashi, do you want to talk about your dad? Your dad was on the assistant crew, and like what a play! Like, your dad was the cutest. Like, I was so happy to see him every time I went into a camp. And so, can you talk a little bit about having your dad out there, worried about his girls doing the toughest thing they've ever done?
Who wouldn't want an unpaid and experienced devil? Dad's, we've always been telling this to a lot of folks around us, that our dad's been our biggest strength. He's been our inspiration. He's been our coach, our mentor. And now we call him our third sister because of his involvement in all of our, 7-minute journey. Yeah, Dad, if you're listening. So for us, when we read the tax qualifications required for the race, we felt like Dad checked all the boxes instantly, but one, he simply can't cook. And that handicap played out throughout the entire challenge, and we couldn't stop but nudge him every step of the way. But I do think that, jokes apart, his involvement as a TAC in the team, added rocket fuel to our motivation and keep going to the next camp. There were some things that really stood out in the way he motivated all 4 of us. The one thing he said was that, remember that men fall after 72 hours, but women get stronger. And that stuck for a long time. Yeah. So some of the things that he did bring out was very fundamental to our success, including having somebody on our team with a bit of humor. Praveen Rangar, who is a local mountain lad. I mean, during the race, there was not a single moment where he would not try and sneak in a little bit of a joke and try to make the team happy and rev us all up. So whatever Dad did tell us and kind of helped us out with during the race eventually worked out. And we wanted him to actually witness for the first time what we are made of, because he would often jokingly say, you did the 7 summits, whatever, young age, you were enthusiastic and crazy or whatever, but to firsthand see us compete and put it all out there. I'm sure he was moved. And as a dad, when we came back, he saluted us with both hands and said, I'm a proud father. You did you did really, really well during the Eco Challenge race, beyond his expectations. So we're really excited that he could be a part of this journey. We've always wanted to, be with Dad on something like this, and nothing better than Eco Challenge that provided us with such tremendous opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, incredible. I mean, for all of you that are watching the panel today, like all you dads out there, can you imagine watching your young daughters doing really one of the toughest things that anyone's ever done? I mean, it just, he was just so cute and worrying about you guys, and he was such a cheerleader for the rest of the crew at each of the base camps. So really, really great to have him on the team. And then Travis, I don't know if your internet is back. We'll do a little test. Who is your team assistant crew? We call it, the acronym is TAC. And so who is your assistant?
Our crew was Andrew Spears, who's a good friend of mine from Evergreen, Colorado, a guy I used to teach high school with. And Andrew was awesome. He not only is he super resilient and does know how to cook a few things. Is this working?
I think maybe someone recommended taking your Travis. Someone recommended turning your video off and just doing audio. I don't know if that will help.
Good idea. Let's try that. Can you hear me? Can you hear the audio?
It sounds a little bit better.
Yeah. So it was Andrew Spears, a former high school teaching colleague of mine. And he was awesome out there. And one thing that I thought was beautiful about this experience is not only are the teams working together and everyone's working with the local people, but the assistant crews are working with each other as well. So Andrew is out there with your dad, who you talked about, and your dad was called the Colonel, and everyone knew him. And, they're helping each other out. They're fixing each other's vehicles. They're helping each other. Andrew's a good bike mechanic, so he's fixing bikes on all these different teams. And it really is this cool community effort, especially, at the back end of the field. Everyone's just trying to make it through. And it's awesome to be in a team-oriented journey like that.
That's awesome. And Travis, it's way better with your video off. And Kev, I might have you do the same. A lot more athletes have joined us. And then also I have a question from Margot Harris, and Peter Weary, I see, has joined us, who's one of our camera operators from Brazil. So I'm going to answer a question, about the question that Margot has is, was the crew for the 2019 Eco Challenge much larger in previous iterations of the race? I've seen them all. Yes, the crew. The Peter Weir is one of our cameramen who I mentioned. I think I'm sure there's more on the chat on the panel today. But the crew that we had was extraordinary. I mean, everyone was an athlete as well as a storyteller. We had, I think it was 20 zone cameras, which are the bigger cameras with an audio person. And then we had 12 embedded operators who raced alongside a lot of the teams. And those were incredible athletes. 6 of the 12, I think, had recently summited Everest, which is incredible. We had 3 drone operating teams. We had the GSS helicopter, which is where we got the big, when you saw the 4 helicopters coming in at the open of the show, there's a GSS helicopter, which is a big kind of eyeball covering bear hanging out of the helicopter. We also had a lot of POV cameras telling the story of the mountain biking section. We had, tremendous athletes on the ropes, going up and down the ropes, telling the story of the athletes. You guys saw some of that footage as well. So I think in total, the crew was about 250 people, and there was, I think, about 41 camera operators, and in total, I think 200 cameras, because then we also had producers with cameras. We use these little things called Osmo's Pocket, which are like little city cam in your hand. And so what really is awesome about covering Eco Challenge 17 years later is the technology. The technology really allowed us to cover the story of these incredible athletes much better. And you can see it in the teaser and the open of the show, that the technology of drones and lighter cameras really allowed us to tell those intimate and then those wider moments to really show the scale of what the race is, and also the intimate feeling of what the athletes go through when they're at their breaking point. And so really, truly, like, this was the biggest adventure production ever assembled. In total, the entire crew with the camera crew, with the staff. We had 70 volunteers that came from over 30 different countries. In total, the army of people that were there to make sure the athletes were safe and then to tell the story of the athletes was 700 people total. Of the 700, 250 were local Fijians that we worked with as well. So it really truly is a massive army that it takes to pull off a production of this scale. And then obviously as you know by now, there were 66 teams from 30 different countries. So that's 330 athletes. And so in total, Eco Challenge is, with the athletes and the staff, about 1,000 people, which is a really massive undertaking, and just really an incredible community of people, as Corey said, that really are just, in the outdoor retail industry, you hear the word stoke a lot, and everyone is just super stoked to be there and super lucky to take part in such an incredible group of athletes and people that really love the outdoors and thrive in the outdoors. So I hope that answered your question, Margot. Let me see what else I've got here. Troy Trimmer, shout out to Corey and all the professionals capturing races like this. Every race my teammates and I were always blown away at the hardcore nature of these crews. Jumping out of the jungle or out of the bushes, riding backwards on horseback or ropes in the water. These folks were completely inspiring. So, good, nice little shout out to you, Corey, and Peter Weary, who's on there. I'm sure there's more camera crews on this as well, and more of your team, Corey.
And I don't know if we want to do it, but I just got a note message that we can show the pictures as we're talking. So I think I'll and we can keep on having a dialogue, but why don't we show a couple of them, Corey, and then we'll talk about them afterwards. Great. So everyone's seeing the images now. Is that safe to assume?
Yeah, we can see it.
Sure. And feel free, I think, anyone on this panel jump in, because while our team shot these pictures, 3 of the people on this panel were living it, and Kevin dreamt it up. And Lisa, you were you sort of orchestrated this whole thing. You were like the conductor, keeping us all in the right place and thinking about story and crews. But this is definitely one of my favorite photos from the Eco Challenge. This is our team, shot everything that you're about to see. But when you think about flowy, amazing mountain biking, Fiji was anything but that. And I think as filmmakers or as photographers, we're looking for those moments, those quintessential moments that really encapsulate in 1/1000th of a second, in one picture, what it feels like to be there. And even if you've only ridden a bike on the bike path in Santa Monica, you understand this does not look fun. Well, that's not true. I think for the right people, this is fun. That those who love to suffer. And so, yeah, these are the types of pictures we're looking for. Feel free, Guy, you can flip through the images.
Travis here, I'll chime in real quick. These 2 last pictures, that muddy one, we were the second team there, and at moments like that, you're right, Corey, you really have to dig deep. But I think that for me, those are the moments where you feel most alive. I mean, you have got to be present. You've got to be 100% in. And in that moment that you showed in the previous picture, one thing I liked about that was multiple teams. We were ferrying bikes up and down this massive mudslide jungle thing, and we're carrying them. We're helping. One team would hand a bike to another, and we just had this chain of people passing bikes up a hill, and it was really cool. Once again, you're in it with your team, but you're also in it with everyone else out there, and you need each other to get through. And I think that's one thing that you find out when you do these kind of races is you're going to have a chance to give some help, and you're really going to have a chance to need some help. And it's very humbling, and really a lot to be learned from it.
Yeah. As I'm looking at these pictures, I'm just being reminded, some folks on this listening in are curious about the coverage, sort of how do you cover such a large story? Because of course, when the race starts, there's 66 teams packed together, and that lasts for about 5 minutes. And then folks by the end of the race, they're spread out by almost, am I right, Lisa and Kevin, 3 days, 4 days?
Yep.
In terms
of
And
out
so,
quickly.
you know, when Lisa described that zone coverage from the production side, there was a very similar thing happening on the still photography side. There's what's happening in the front of the race. And we, as a photography team, we had sort of zone coverage, a few key locations. Someone would camp out at the location for a few days and really get every team passing through, because you never knew which team was the great story, who was going to drop out, who was going to persevere and succeed. And you need time to make great pictures. You need time. And this moment here where someone is suffering, it's only a split second, but you really see the suffering. That's kind of what, you know, anyone capturing visuals, whether that's moving pictures, still photography, this is what we're, you know, these are kind of the gems that then allow the audience later to understand the hardship and what it means to persevere and be uncomfortable. I believe this is Tara Kersner's image, and she camped out at the waterfall, which was a rope section of the course, I want to say for 3 or 4 days, and then got stuck for another day because there was no way to get out due to the heavy rain. And so, you know, that's that. I alluded to it earlier in the talk. You know, Tara, despite the bad weather, despite being stuck for another day, despite everything being waterlogged and, you know, running out of food, she had a smile on her face and never complained. And that, along with making great pictures, you know, that's really what it's all about. A lot of water. There were medallions. That was one of the ways that the organizers knew that the teams were hitting key points. And one of those, Lisa, and by the way, someone cut me off if this isn't supposed to be known. But anyhow, there's a lot of water, a lot of swimming. And one of those medallions is pretty tough to get to underwater.
Yeah. Well, and that's a little bit of a change that we've done from the past, is that we did have these they were beautifully created by our team. And they were almost like mini trophies, you know, between each legs. And so these medallions were just a beautiful thing that teams had to get. And I think it really meant something to them to have this piece of hardware. And this is a beautiful image that you guys shot. And I think that's natural light too, isn't it? Corey, yeah, I don't even think like, it's just to be like, I mean, Fiji's just such an incredible place.
Yeah, this is Andy Mann, who's one of the great underwater photographers of our time, does a lot of work in the conservation world to protect our oceans and our climate. And I believe this is actually shot at night. And I think a lot of the teams arrived to dive, you know, several meters underwater in the midst of night. And so it's, you know, as photographers, we're always striving for how do we show it differently. And sometimes that means shooting, you know, early or late or at night, or getting the camera in a position that's surprising. And this was, you know, I described getting back to HQ and seeing what Greg and Josh and Brett had edited. And this was one of those frames that when we all saw it, it was, you know, the wow moment of, you know, it's just so cool.
I remember when you guys sneakily showed me some stuff too. And I remember this one specifically. And this is a really special place for all of us. When you guys see the show, this is a really special place for Kevin and Scott Flavell and I on the race course. So you guys captured it beautifully.
There was, yeah, I mean, so much of photography is just being ready for anything. And, you know, Fiji, because it's very much a jungle, you know, oftentimes it can be bone dry and then it's pouring rain. And so there were definitely situations where sort of, you know, photographers had to be in the field with as little as possible, because you need to be able to move and follow teams, but then you need to be able to adapt and really catch these moments. And so I believe this was one of Poby's images where, you know, jumped in the water with the athletes. And I think similar to what you said, Travis, as an athlete, you feel most alive when you're really suffering. And I think as a photographer, where we're, you know, living in parallel with the athletes, it's, you know, these are the moments that we also feel most alive, when you're really having to work and you're right on the edge of, you know, failing. Those are where the best images are made, and you look back and those are the memories that are so special.
And Corey, I'll add to that real quick. The embedded photographers, especially, for example, we had Johan, who was with our team almost the entire race. And, you know this experience, you're part of the team. That person they're going through hell and high water with you, and, you know, you're talking, you're chatting. It's this incredible experience of highs and lows packed into just 1 week. And here's a person who you will never forget and is absolutely part of your team. And I think that's really special and amazing. Cheers to Corey for finding these people who are ready for it, because you don't get to pick who your photographer is, but you're right, you chose people who are ready for it, and it was awesome. I will remember being out there with Johan fondly for a long time.
Yeah, thanks. And it's worth pointing out, I wish I could take credit for the embedded camera operators, but that was Mike Murray and Lisa and Kevin shooting the motion, that incredible team of athletes. And I
just want to give credit to Rob Galler. Rob Galler actually is the one who really helped assemble that team. And Rob would love to be here today, but I think he's probably out doing adventures in the world.
Yeah. You can advance this image, guy, if you're great. Yeah, go ahead, Lisa.
And those are the kamikaze that Kevin was talking about earlier, that we had handcrafted by local Fijian craftsmen. And then it became this whole thing in the South Pacific where young kids were coming to then learn the art of making these sailboats, which were just absolutely stunning. And as Kevin mentioned, this guy, Colin Phillips, who actually raced for Fiji in the Olympics for sailing, helped design those, or did design those. And then we were able to build handcraft with the local Fijians, 72 of those, and then give them away to the villages who took part in allowing us to go through their land. And so we were really excited to have these kamikaze.
Great, you can advance that, yeah. This is, we as photographers, we break images into, there's the peak action, the athletes really kind of doing it. There's the scenics. I think we just looked at that kamikaze boat with the epic water and reflection. And then there are these kind of lifestyle moments. And this I think is one of my favorites, where it's a team is just exhausted, trying to get their feet up, resting. And it's, these are those moments that help round out the story, tell the story of what it really feels like, to do an expedition race, something as long and hard as Eco Challenge. So
when you have nothing left, absolutely nothing left.
Yeah, and I think people, outsiders that aren't adventure racers, I think one of the surprising elements to Eco Challenge or a true adventure race is that, the gun goes off, and for the most part, with the exception of a few little rules, that it never stops, night and day, through rain and humidity and hot sun. It just keeps on going. And this photograph, I think, does a great job encapsulating that. And I think there's two other women on this call that could do a better job describing what's happening in this photo than me.
Oh, MJ, PTSD. I do not want to relive this again. First of all, just to let you all know, Tash and I are terrible swimmers.
Oh, yeah.
And when we realized on this course that we were not going to have a PFD on, I freaked out. I almost had a panic attack. And I was like, are you serious? This is real? This is real? Am I going to do this without the PFD? No, I can't. And they're like, this is real. You have to do it. There's no choice. I was like, OMG, what on earth are they putting me through? It was this section, oh my God, it brings back so many memories. I mean, you can tell the sheer exhaustion on my face. And underneath, actually you have no idea, but I'm trying to pretend like I'm a dog, just not listening to anybody, but constantly moving my feet and hand. And somebody told me once that if you can keep quiet and not panic, that's the best thing you can do when you're on the water. So I tried as much as possible not to panic, but I'm telling you, I'm dash scared on this section.
And also it was what a lot of people think of Fiji as, honeymooners hanging out on a beach in 90-degree weather, whatever, 30 degrees Celsius. But this section, we had a lot of hypothermia. It was really cold. The water was very cold. And we called it the pools. And Kev, how cold was that water?
Yeah, we never, can you hear me okay, Lise?
Yeah.
Yeah. We never put a thermometer on it, but I can definitely echo what Lisa's saying. That water was cold. And in the last newsletter that we sent out to the teams, I even put a little hint in that you want to have a neoprene top expedition guidebook as to when you want to throw that in your pack, because it was forecastable that we were going to see teams with hypothermia there. And we wanted to give them a bit of a heads up. And but when you watch the streaming broadcast, you will certainly see a lot of suffering from those pools and steamy in Fiji. Am I breaking up, Lise?
Yeah, you're breaking up. You might want to take your video off. That helps a little bit. But that was definitely a breaking point for a lot of teams, and really just incredible part of Fiji, though, just really beautiful. But we are at the hour mark, just so you guys know. So I'm not sure if we're going to be able to show any more photos, but why don't, if you could, Guy, if we can go to video again for the panel, and then I'm going to throw to each of you guys. If you have any last minute words for the folks that have joined us today. I just want to thank everyone. We had a panel from around the world, or not the people that, the audience from around the world. There was a bunch more athletes that have joined. Hunter's joined, who was our youngest athlete at 18. There's just a lot of people, and this is definitely a global audience that's come to join us, and it's a global community. And so we couldn't be more honored and grateful that you've joined us today. But I'm going to just go to each person on the panel. And if you want to let the audience know where they can find you on social media, on Instagram, that would be great. And just in terms of the show, The World's Toughest Race, Eco Challenge Fiji, you can find, there's a really cool thing that Amazon Prime has set up, and we want to really thank Amazon Prime for their global support. And they couldn't be more supportive of this this TV series and the race and the athletes and the crew, and we're just so grateful for them. They have set up on Facebook, you can go to World's Toughest Race Space Camp. The girls are much better. I was having a conversation with the girls earlier this morning. They're much better at social media things than I am, but you can join the private group at Base Camp on Facebook. And if you go to Amazon Prime Video, I'm sure you can find it. And the trailer's up there, and it's a really cool group that's been created. And then on Instagram, it's Tough Race TV. At Tough Race TV, and so you can see some of Corey and his team's incredible images. So please follow us there, and you'll get great updates and just join our global community of people. And then once again, the show will be streaming. It'll be binging. So all 10 episodes will drop at once on August 14th. And I'm not sure how it'll work internationally. I think it was Nora that asked me from New Zealand, when it will drop in New Zealand and Australia, but I'm not exactly sure on that, but look for it on August 14th, and all 10 episodes will be available for you guys. So let me throw it to Corey in terms of if you guys want to follow him on Instagram, what your social media handles are.
Sure. The easiest way is my website, CoreyRich.com, CoreyRich.com. And I think on Instagram, I'm actually Corey Rich Productions on Instagram. And from those two, I think you can track me down. And I'll be sharing a lot of content once the show drops, and the other photographers will be sharing images, and I can't wait to watch the episodes. So thanks for listening.
Yeah, and I'm going to give Corey some mad props. He has a book that just came out recently. And Corey, what's it called, and where can people find it?
Thanks. It's called Stories Behind the Images, and also on Amazon. That's the best place to find it. So storiesbehindtheimages.com.
Awesome. Tash and Nush, you guys are on there you go.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, now we are unmuted. Well, we were on Twin Climbers recently on Instagram, but yes, because of the celebrity status here, we got fished a few days ago. But no, our new handle is Tashi Nungshi, or you could just follow Team Kukri Warriors. That's where we've been putting our latest adventure. I know life is quite exciting when you have new things coming up, and World's Toughest Race is, I think, one of those moments where we've been posting a lot about it because we're very excited. And on Facebook, we're just Tashi and Nungshi Malik. On Twitter, we are Tashi Nungshi. So whichever platform you are in, you would please, we'd love to see you there. And If you have anything else.
No, she's the tech person. I'm okay. I just keep job. Otherwise, I'd probably fish our own account myself. I'm terrible at it. But
Tasha's really good at it. It's just if you have any advice, guys, on the panel, ask Tashi. She's awesome. And then Kevin Hodder, drum roll, is new to Instagram. He's working on becoming an adventure influencer. So Kevin, where can everyone find you?
Influencers in the wild. Yes, so like Lisa says, I'm Hodder. If you will, Lisa, a couple shout outs. Lisa mentioned a little bit Scott Flavel, who's the race technical director. A massive part of the heartbeat of Eco Challenge, and so we don't want to give the impression that I see the internet's unstable, that we're doing it team. Main part of it is, of course, Scott. Had a couple other teams join in. Burnett from Team Curl. We love you guys. And then, of course, we had the great Mike Sarro, who is another one of the TAX team assistant crews, chime in. Good to see his name come up. But looking forward to World August 14th, Amazon Prime. Let's do this.
200 countries are going to be screening it. You guys are going to be adventure superstars very soon. And Travis, I don't know if you're a big social media person, if you want people to follow you or if you want to share or not.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa. At Travis Macy across the platforms and travismacy.com. And as far as the final point, I just think we're living in a world that's full of uncertainty and loss right now, and there's a lot of people all around the world suffering. And I hope on the one end that this show coming out hopefully is a bit of a break and something fun to enjoy. And I also hope that we can have some takeaways of, here's a way to deal with uncertainty, which is exactly what you got to do in an adventure race. And I think we've all got to do that in our daily lives right now as well. So I hope that it can help people in a bigger way.
Thank you, Travis. That's really well said. And I want to give you a shout out too, because you're also an author. And do you want to tell people about some of the books that you've written and where they can find those as well?
The Ultra Mindset is the previous book that is on Amazon as well as in bookstores. And we're brewing up a little something where we hope to share this Alzheimer's experience with Dad. So maybe look for that down the road.
Amazing. Well, I want to thank everyone once again for joining. And please join the Facebook Basecamp that Amazon has set up. It's a great way to communicate with this community. We're very proud and happy to be part of the outdoor community, and we really are so fortunate that Outdoor Retailer asked us to put together this panel. We are so excited for you to share this with the world, and we couldn't be more just grateful to be part of this community, this global community. So thank you all for joining us today. And we will see you out there in the world, hopefully sometime soon when borders start opening up again.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks, everyone.